All right. Good evening, everyone. It's 6:01, so I will call to order our November 17th, 2025 meeting for the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee. Thank you, Tara, for helping me with the mic. So I do want to share some updates with everyone this evening before we dive into the bulk of our agenda. I want to let everybody know that since our last meeting, we did have a couple of workshops on our commendations and recommendations, and we're in the home stretch of finalizing all of that to get that over for cabinet review. Thank you for those of you who joined us either virtually or in person to lend your voices to the highest priorities that we want to take forward. So we have a great group of recommendations that will be putting forth on December 10th. So I would love for as many of you to turn out to the Board of Education meeting to show your support for the CCAC commendations and recommendations at the December 10th Board of Ed meeting. And we also I want to give a huge shout out to Ambi and Tanvi, our two student members who are recipients of a grant for their Ray Foundation nonprofit, so congratulations. You continue to make us proud as student members of CCAC. And a few other updates since we last met. We do have the membership subcommittee helping to fill the community vacancy. I'm sure they will share more around that when we do subcommittee reports. I did have a couple of conversations around cameras in classrooms, cameras in the school environment, so I do want to take some time this evening to talk through that and to share some information that I've been collecting, and I am going to bring forward a motion to this body for consideration around cameras in classrooms. So we'll get to that later on in the agenda. We also have a special guest here with us this evening, Miss Ailey Dixon. She's Miss Roxburgh Elks Derby Days and a former Middletown student. So I want to welcome her, and we look forward to her sharing her story later on in our agenda. We do have a number of observances between now and January when we come back. We do not have a December public meeting. Before we dive into what those are, I do want to recognize the theme for Inclusive Schools Week. So Inclusive Schools is celebrated in the month of December. And Children First, Building a Stronger Tomorrow is the theme for this year at CPS. Folks will be sharing some updates around what is going to be happening around that, and we'll obviously help support promoting that through our various social media channels. And for observances, we do have World AIDS Day, Giving Tuesday. Give to your favorite special education nonprofit. Giving Tuesday is an opportunity to double donations that are made on Giving Tuesday generally. December 3rd is International Day of Persons with Disabilities. We also have Human Rights Day, and heading into January before our next meeting, we do have World Braille Day on January 4th, and a few other observances as well. So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve our minutes from our October 20th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? Claudia? Is there a second? Okay, Chris? All in favor of approving October 20th, 2025 minutes, please raise your hand. Okay, 23 in favor, any opposed, any abstentions, so moved.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
I would like to I'd like to make a motion to amend the September 15th, 2025 meeting minutes. September 15th, 2025 meeting minutes by striking the original language, quote, moving forward with the planning of a staff appreciation event taking place in April and May to the following. Member Kilpatrick, Member Schaefer, and Member Givens to move forward with options and coordinating our different partners to explore and bring a proposal for a special education appreciation event to take place in the spring. This amendment clarifies the members responsible, expands the planning scope, and specifies that coordination with partners and a formal proposal will be brought back to the committee.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Seconded by Zoe. All those in favor, raise your hand.
You're at 23 again.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you for correcting the record, Laura. All right, so we will now move into our guest speaker portion of this evening, Ms. Ailey Dixon, Ms. Frostberg, Alex Derby Days, and former Middletown student. So I'm going to pull up your slides now.
At least she'll click through for you.
And if you let me know when to advance, I'm happy to move you
I
forward.
can't really see them, so I'll
tell you.
Okay.
So we are on the title slide, Disability Belonging in STEM.
I'm Sarah Schonkweiler. I'm Eiley's former home hospital teacher at Frederick County Public Schools. We met when she was in the 9th grade, and it's been quite a journey. So this is our, thank you. This is our title slide, Eiley. Eiley and I have done a couple workshops together. I work at Johns Hopkins now in the Space Systems Engineering program. I still maintain my Maryland teaching license in case that they needed me to work with, particularly with students with cancer, who were the most recent students I've worked with over there. But Eiley and I have gotten back together and given several conference presentations recently on disability belonging in STEM. So this was one of our title slides from a recent one. So if you want to go on to the next slide, I'll let Eiley introduce herself.
Okay, the next slide is up.
So I am Eiley, and my heart hurts.
We're
myself.
both
Yeah.
a little bit rattled
Yeah,
because
a
we've
little-
had some interesting experiences.
I would love to say that I look back at my grade school times as something that I love, and I love the school, but unfortunately I cannot say that. Throughout most of my school experience, I was in and out of the hospital as I was paralyzed from 12 to 18 years old with Guillain-Barré syndrome. However, it took far too long for them to diagnose. Starting in 9th grade, I did half days at school, having to do the other half home hospital. Eventually, I would have 9-month stays in the hospital, sometimes 3-month-long stays, and it caused me to have to be withdrawn from school and do full-time home hospital. However, my school system would not allow me to do more than 2 credits a semester. As anyone can imagine, that is not a way to get through high school in 4 years. And I then asked, the school then told me that home hospital teaching is not a way to get through high school. I asked them what is when you are in and out of the hospital and you have 1 to 7 appointments a week and get IV medications that don't make you feel too well. For me, that's what home hospital was for, because online school, if anyone has been in a hospital, you know that hospital Wi-Fi is not reliable at all. And I always said that there was nothing wrong with
It's your mom.
Oh, it's my mom's. Of course it is. That there was nothing wrong with my mind, that it was my body that did not work, and there was no reason that I could not do more credits. I was a straight A student in honors classes. There was absolutely no reason. I tried to budge them. Miss Sarah tried to budge them. They would not budge. And eventually, by the time I was 18, I was undergoing what would be a 9-month hospitalization that got me to eat again for the first time in 2 years. And food is delicious. I missed it. Getting fed through my port does not do it justice. I was able to walk again and take my first steps, and I no longer have a life expectancy. I am now blind, but I no longer have this life expectancy hanging over my family's and I's head. However, the school then told me that which I already knew, that I would not be able to graduate with my class due to not having the credits. I did the math in my head, and I needed 7 more credits. I knew I was having to undergo more surgeries, and that I would be in and out of the hospital. And even if they extended my time by the additional 2 years, that I still would not graduate if I still remained in home hospital. However, I knew of plenty of other kids throughout Frederick County and outside of Frederick County that were able to get more than 2 credits a semester through home hospital teaching. And it is through this that while anytime for years I thought about school, somebody would see how young I was and ask me, what grade are you in? I would break down. I would start crying. I would bawl because the school, while it was my choice, I felt like it was not my choice to withdraw from school.
It wasn't.
No, that the kids that skipped school, the kids that did not want to be there, they got to graduate, yet the one that was in the hospital the majority of the time was not able to. I went and got my GED a couple of years later. But like I said, I would love to say that I look so fondly at school. The only part I look fondly of is tech. I was a soundboard manager when I was able to attend. Not only do I love learning, but I loved seeing my friends. So it always broke my heart when I was not able to attend and with what the school board was doing. I also believe that I needed to be here because there needs to be more regulations around home hospital teaching, because even though school left me with the disdain in a way that I have now decided to be an advocate, and I even started Insightful, which is all about demystifying blindness and visual impairments, and I do a lot of talks. I actually just spoke at Middletown Middle School at the end of this past school year to talk about blindness and STEM equity within that, as I was a nursing student as well now. But there needs to be more regulations around home hospital, where as we all know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but I think that's where it needs to start, at least in my story, that allowing more access for students in that way to be able to expand their learning, because if the school had supported me, I would have graduated. I would not have had to go through what I did with the school board system. It is also upsetting that at every IEP meeting, it felt like a fight that I was going to lose. I never felt like they were talking to me. It was always about me. But just a couple of years ago, I wrote a letter, actually I think it was just last year, to my old case manager through the high school. Because while I know my words will not change, me talking to her would not change what had happened. What is done. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to make positive changes so this does not happen again, because I know the pain that I went through, my family did, and others like Miss Sarah went through with my story, that this needs to stop if we can help it. So I'm going to have, since I cannot see what I've written now, I'm going to have Miss Sarah read what I wrote to end. But I do want you guys to really think about adding regulations to home hospital teaching, because especially in my case, there is no reason I could not have done a full 3 to 4 classes. I think I could have done a 4, but 3 would have gotten me to graduate if that is what they had done. So I will let you go ahead, because I could ramble about this, because I'm very passionate, but...
Well, and I appreciate Eiley asking me to come along also, because as she said, I'm her home hospital teacher, and I was a classroom teacher. You can go ahead and go up to the next one. I was a classroom teacher at Frederick County for quite a while, but I have a special heart for home hospital kids, because you're my kids.
Yes, I know.
And as someone who has chronic illness myself, our journey has been quite interesting over the years. I told her you're actually probably one of the few students who really knew about a lot of my challenges, because when we met, neither one of us had hair.
Nope, we were both bald.
We were meeting for home hospital teaching, and at the same time, the school district was telling Eiley that she was faking her disabilities, which was not true. I was the one who was helping her when she would pass out and fall out of her wheelchair, so I can tell you she was not faking it. And that
I think my dead weight told you that.
Yes, it did. The utter disrespect that I had to put up with as a staff member, sitting in IEP meeting after IEP meeting, not only for Eiley, but for so many other students, not just on home hospital, but for disabled students. Throughout my 20-year career, I left engineering to become a teacher to make a bigger difference on who gets to be in STEM. But the trauma that I stood up, that I had to endure as a staff member who couldn't do anything because I was worried about my own job. I couldn't stand up for her when they said in her last IEP meeting that I probably will never forget, saying that she just needs to drop out of school. Like, she's too much of a bother. She's got 2 more years. She just needs to drop out. She's not going to amount to anything anyway. She's probably not going to survive. They didn't put it quite like that, dear.
No,
please,
but yeah.
That's what they meant. And it's not okay. So, I thought this was really telling. This sentence probably might make me cry. When I made it to 2 months of no missed days, I got a letter signed by some people higher up in the school congratulating me. I was saddened when I got that letter because I felt like they thought I didn't want to come to school, when school was actually my safe haven away from chronic illness. I was always doing the math in my head of what I was going to need to graduate, and I knew the school was not going to work with me to make that happen. And Eiley just shared the part about being in the hospital and having to make a decision about whether she was willing to drop out or not. She said it absolutely killed me, and for about 4 months I cried about dropping out because I knew it wasn't my fault. It's not like I was ever had bad grades. Had the school supported me, I wouldn't have been in this situation. I finally decided I didn't want to continue to fight the school, so I would sign the papers to drop out. It was like a stab to the heart. For me too. Something almost everybody does automatically, I wasn't able to do. You already told them the rest of that part. I think this was an important point that at the time, neither one of us really knew what our chronic illnesses was. It was going to be a few more years before I was diagnosed with cancer and before they really figured out why you were passing out regularly
paralyzed, yes.
and paralyzed, yeah. So she said, when I was in high school, we didn't have the full picture of my health, so I felt that like that was used against me. It absolutely was. Yeah. And everything we tried, it was great to finally have answers. I always say disabled people have to learn how to live in an able-bodied world, yet abled people don't have to learn how to be in a disabled person's world. I'm writing this because I felt like in school, especially at IEP meetings, the administrators would talk about me, but never to me. And that is really true. I had people tell me I was lucky I got to stay home. I didn't feel lucky. Undergoing lots of medical procedures is not lucky. And even being home, about the 4th day, you start going stir crazy. School was my escape, so I would read textbooks to escape, which is why I always tried to push for more than 2 classes. And honestly, I had many students who were taking 4. When I tried to push for Eiley to even take 3 classes to be on track to graduate, we were turned down. And there wasn't an actual rule. That was a unspoken rule that somebody made up and used when they felt like it. The administration kept saying home hospital isn't the way to get through high school. Well, what is? When you have 3-month-long hospitalizations a few times a year with having crappy internet, that's the truth, because it was at JHU Hospital, and I would go over there to Baltimore to visit her, and it was terrible. I was fighting for my life, and I just couldn't fight with the school anymore. I stated to the school that since 9th grade, my goal was to graduate with my class, or at least a year behind. I feel like you all need to understand the strain you put me through. I wasn't that kid that gave up on school or was trying to use an excuse not to do school, but I feel like the school gave up on me. I would love to talk to someone to help the school system so no other kids fall through the cracks. So we appreciate you listening to us today. If you could go on to the next couple slides. We don't want to be all doom and gloom. I think this is a quote I use a lot in our workshops at Hopkins. Disability is the essence of diversity by definition. It runs across race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomics, culture, and the most important thing, it's the only minority group that anyone can join at any time, which makes it unique. So the people who think disability doesn't apply to them are an accident, a diagnosis, or an injury away from finding out that it actually does. If you want to go on to the next one too. We are trying to do work to raise awareness among my engineering faculty.
Oh, is it the leaky pipeline?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the leaky pipe.
The STEM pipeline, because in our workshop recently, I gave Eiley a hug and I said, "You're a leak, honey." I'm like, "Sorry, but you are."
That's what I want to hear.
You're a leak in the STEM pipeline because she was pushed out of high school without a degree. She earned her GED. She went to nursing school, and her professors called her in and said, "Being blind is a liability in nursing school. You should drop out because you're not going to get a job."
I became blind while in nursing school, to be fair. It wasn't right at the beginning, but still. Yeah.
It's still not okay.
No, it's not.
For all of us who work in STEM fields in higher ed, a better answer would have been, how can we support you to be successful as a nurse?
Mm-hmm.
Because with everything you have gone through medically, you'd be a fabulous nurse. So all of the nursing friends that I have at JHU are trying to convince her that she needs to go back to school. But as she said, it's finding the money. And is it true, like that when you get out, you're not going to be able to find a job? Is it still true in engineering? I would say yes, it is.
Yeah.
Like, anyways, we do want to show you, if you want to go on to the next slide real quick. This is a lot of stats on disabilities in STEM because if any of you are in that field and have a disability, it is still difficult to disclose that you have disabilities in STEM fields, because we still deal with assumptions of bias and underperformance. I still deal with that myself as an engineer who designs engineering classes, and I'm on the faculty over there too. Not a lot has changed. If you want to go on to the next slide real quick. This was a quote from Eiley in the Microsoft blog, because I got on LinkedIn and tagged Microsoft and told them, I'm really tired of fixing PowerPoints that are inaccessible, so you need to fix them. And about 3 minutes later on a Sunday afternoon, got a message from their PowerPoint engineer. And we've had a really, I mean, it is amazing that in 4 months, how much they have updated all Microsoft products to make them accessible, which they're rolling out to 1.2 billion people around the world.
Yeah, it's much more accessible for my screen reader, so with alt text I can actually enjoy them, because PowerPoints and PDFs are very rarely accessible for screen readers and for the blind. So I was very happy that Microsoft was willing to hear us out and hear where the problems were.
Absolutely. They are actually asking to hear from disabled users like Eiley, which I love. So if you want to go on to the next one real quick. This is a picture of the Astro Access team. These are all disabled astronaut ambassadors for that team. They have a slogan that I love and use it all the time because I'm in the space systems field. If we can make space accessible, we can make any space accessible. And two of the people that are circled on this slide, the one on the left is Apurva Varia, who was a deaf astronaut. He was one of our graduates in my program, who unfortunately passed away last year of a sudden stroke, but his team members are still carrying on his legacy. And the gal that's circled on the right is Mona Mankara, who's a blind astronaut that I put up there for Eiley. And I think this is one quote I think we would just leave you with. The one argument for accessibility that doesn't get made nearly often enough is how extraordinarily better it makes some people's lives. How many opportunities do we have as teachers, advocates, parents to dramatically improve people's lives just by doing our job a little bit better? I mean, that's a quote I would love for the school board members to hear sometime, because I know as a teacher, I've been a classroom teacher, I know how hard it is. I know we don't have the answers. I know how tired we are. But at the same time, it's central office, it's the rules, it's the non-rules that we impose on teachers and students that impact the entire rest of their lives. And Eileen's children, family, it's not just this student here this day, it's her entire family. This is her mom over here. It's me as her teacher. Like, the amount of trauma that I put up with because of the way my 58 home hospital students were treated. It's just not okay. And honestly, I never thought we'd have a chance to share our story, but I hope that I hope it's something you remember because we're trying to make a difference.
Yeah. And one last thing I will say, because I'm sure we're boring you guys a little bit, but people for years have been actually trying to get me to sue the school board. However, I decided not to because suing usually just gets you money or something along those lines. It doesn't always put action in the plan. I wanted to actually have a meaningful conversation so things could change for future students. Because if this has happened to me, you're just hearing my voice because I'm a very great advocate. How many other students has this happened to? And also, who knows if the actual county school board even knew about my case or if Middletown just had it on the side.
They didn't.
My guess is probably not. So how many other students has this happened to statistically? And if even one more, it's one more too many because I know everything that it put me through, especially emotionally, because school was supposed to be my safe haven, but I wanted to stay away from the administration. And it shouldn't be that way at all.
Actually, on my LinkedIn, I have a picture of myself with Eiley was one of my first students, and my second student just graduated this year from high school. And my LinkedIn post says he graduated in spite of Frederick County Public Schools. And I went on to say, in spite of all the teachers who were burned out, who tried to help him, who wanted to help him, the system, he is in college now after being told he would never attend college. He graduated with his full degree. I mean, that was one of the best days of my life. I was happier about that than when my own kids graduated because of the number of times he was told that he was not going to amount to anything. And I have told him over and over again, your math fact fluency tests do not determine your worth as a human being. So I think we'll leave you with that. Look me up, you'll see our pictures on LinkedIn.
Thank you both for sharing your story this evening. It isn't often that we hear about the home hospital experience, and so it's really great that you made some time to come and share with us what your experience was. We do have a Board of Education member here with us, Ms. Nancy Allen, and so she did hear your entire story. And
Got questions.
yes,
I'm good with
we're
that.
turning it over for questions now, and just a friendly reminder to please use the mic when you're speaking.
I have questions for central office.
Last questions for our guest speakers. So we'll go to Tara and then Ronnie, please.
So Eiley, just so everyone knows, Amy Nelson and I had the privilege of meeting Eiley at the World of Possibilities Expo that we attended this past spring. And when we met Eiley, she was telling us about all the amazing things she is doing now after finding out and being diagnosed and figuring out how to navigate her world with the new challenges.
Yes.
Could you tell us about the work that you're doing now and why we hear about your pageant work? And because that's along with your title, like how does that all fit in? I think that's a really interesting part of your story and where you are today and how you're taking your challenges and turning them into an opportunity.
Well, thank you for that question. I love that question. So like I said, advocacy work that I do, it's under Insightful, Demystifying Blindness and Visual Impairments, because I only became blind 4 years ago and I realized how little I knew about blindness. And everybody always thinks because I am so young that I was born this way. And I make the joke is blindness is the one thing I didn't see coming. If you don't laugh, you cry. You gotta joke about it. And you know, while my cane helps me, it's not always the best at making friends. You know, hitting the backs of people's ankles is not always, and people diving out of your way is not always the best to meet friends. But I also realized for my entire village, it was also a learning experience all the way through how to guide a blind person, she's a terrible guide human, by the way. I love Miss Sarah, but not the best of guide humans.
Not a target.
No, not a target, definitely not. But learning how to put bump dots on things, realizing how difficult it is even to do laundry or the dishes without sight, how inaccessible, sometimes even downtown, which I have been speaking with Mayor Michael O'Connor, and he's asked me to write out a whole essay of things that the downtown area can do to make it more accessible, because I wanted to go to the mayors of every county and be like, what are you doing for universal design when it comes to the blind specifically, and how can we work from there? And of course, even Michael O'Connor, I stalked him, and I told this story in July. I was the opening keynote speaker for the Disability Pride City Council meeting of Frederick County, and I told this story of how I stalked Michael O'Connor at the Disability Expo where I was volunteering. I had my friend look up what he looked like because I heard he was going to be there, and I wanted to talk to him. So when I asked him, he at first had the defensive answer, and I was like, no, this is a collaborative conversation, and not everything's going to be perfect, and that's fine, but where can we go forward with this? I understand not all of the country areas are going to be accessible, but there's no excuse for downtown, especially when we have the Maryland School for the Deaf. And before I went blind, my parents, starting at age 4, put myself in sign language classes. So I'm fluent in sign language. It doesn't help me now. With a lot of my deaf and hard of hearing friends, I can't see them talk back to me, but I can talk to them. So texting's a little bit easier. But I go into schools. I've gone into 3 so far to talk about blindness and visual impairments, because they are our future architects, software designers. They are our future to make the world more accessible, or if they are to fall into the disability minority, because 80% of disabilities happen after the age of 18, and we are not prepared in the school system at all. How to live with lack of sight, how to live with lack of hearing, but yet there's 23.7 million Americans that are blind or visually impaired, and that number is projected to double by 2050 due to the aging of population and the prevalence of disease and individuals not knowing what put their vision at risk. And I also felt like that was also very important, that they know that you can still be successful and be blind. You can still be successful and disabled. I think we all know a disabled person, usually an elderly person, that once they become disabled, they just give up. I have a ton of disabled friends, and it is incredibly disheartening. However, with how the majority of the world sees individuals with disabilities, I don't blame them. I mean, the ADA, the American with Disabilities Act, was only put into law 35 years ago in 1990. And while we have a lot more rights than we once did in the abolishment of the ugly laws, we still have a long way to go with being seen as equals when it comes to in society. So that's part of what I wanted to help break barriers with, and I even work with an amazing nonprofit right now that's trying to make higher math accessible for the blind.
And it's not me. He's at Ohio State.
Yeah, he's at Ohio State. He's a professor there, but working with him because with screen readers, higher math is just not accessible. If anything, when my computer tries to read it, it reads it in Slavic. And the Slavic language, it doesn't even pick it up as a math symbol at all. So STEM fields, in a blind curriculum, most of the time STEM is taken out of a blind individual's curriculum, and that also needs to change, which is why I'm very, Miss Sarah and I last month talked at the STEM Educators Conference, speaking to educators of how to be able to teach people with disabilities, because of course it's always put up, and I talked at Johns Hopkins about this, that people are like, well, well, we don't have a blind student, so we don't need to make it accessible. Well, why do you think you don't have a blind student? It's because you're not already making it accessible. Therefore, if you're not trying to make the motions to make it accessible for me, then I already feel like I'm winning a losing battle by attending. So, but I love any chance I get for advocacy. I've been doing so much, but I love every second of it. And I was the first blind contestant this past year to compete at Miss Maryland. I had my bright pink suit and a bright pink white-tipped cane with me as my interview, but I had my cane match my suit because I just wanted them to see a beautiful woman and not add the qualifier of a beautiful disabled woman, because so often people try to box us. But out of everything with my story, with both talking here today and my advocacy work in general, I want every single person to be able to take away something from me. That's why one of my favorite quotes is, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? I didn't know if I wanted to be an advocate, especially after becoming blind and assessing, okay, what can I do and what can't I do? What can I actually do, but people say I can't do? And I chose that advocacy was what I wanted to do. However, it's sometimes incredibly difficult. You feel like you open doors in one way and then you smack right into a wall. And coming here today, I don't know if I'm going to make any changes. I don't know if my story, but by not telling it, I can guarantee that nothing will change. And that by chance, maybe something can change when it comes to disabled individuals. One, so I can feel a little bit more at peace, but so this does not happen, because when I say I have a burning passion, I mean that I have a burning passion for advocacy. And even when I was 17, I started Warrior Glam Bags. I got makeup bags. I filled them with makeup and donated them to children's hospitals. I donated over 600 bags to 7 different children's hospitals between DC and Maryland, because when you don't feel well, it makes everything 10 times worse if you don't look well or look like yourself. And children's hospitals mainly only have things for the babies and school-age kids, but rarely the tweens and teens, as I know from plenty of experience in that realm. But yeah, in this coming year, I'm continuing doing advocacy and going to be, I believe, at Monocacy Elementary School soon. So I'm excited for that as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm Rania, so I am also blind. I started going blind in my 20s, so that's about 24 years ago, so that puts me at 50. So we have some similarities. I was actually studying to be an interpreter for the deaf when I lost my vision. So yeah, and I didn't lose my vision during the school system, so I did not get, do I need to hold it?
No, just talk.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sorry, it's a problem being blind and I talk with my hands. I bump into everything.
It's all good.
Yeah. But so I didn't learn Braille through the school system. I had to learn it later as an adult, and I found it really challenging. I'm still not Braille literate. Are you fluent in Braille?
No, I am not fluent in Braille. I'm barely fluent in Fusion. I don't know what software you use, but I use Fusion because it's a mixture of JAWS and Zoom Text. But that alone is very difficult. And learning Braille, I don't know if they did with you with what they did with me, but they sandpaper your fingers down to try to help make you extra hypersensitive. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to repeatedly go through that process. So I know the bare minimum of Braille, and I don't know if I want to be fluent in Braille. I think I'm okay. I have enough nerve pain, but I started going blind at 20, so it's only been 4.5 years for me, so I completely understand.
No, I mean, I'm 24 years and it's still on my to-do list. So
Still running into walls? Yeah.
So, but I do want to say I really, really appreciate your document that you provided because I was able to read it ahead of time and it worked with my screen reader.
Awesome.
Including the photo descriptions, which was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
As you said, it's very, very frustrating as a blind person using a screen reader trying to access documents, so I really appreciate that.
A lot of people don't know that with their photos that they post nowadays, you can add alt text, which is just a description, and I've had a friend complain about it and be like, it's so difficult. I was like, yeah, how do you think it feels to be excluded? It really sucks, doesn't it, huh?
Yeah, it really makes a difference to
It
help
does.
understand what the context of the photo is and why it's being shared.
Yes.
So I wanted to know if I'm a member of the National Federation of the Blind, and I don't know if you're familiar with that organization.
I am.
But they have have
that
a
question.
STEM to You program that, where they have kits that they send to blind students, and they have online instruction as well as, in-person meetups and things like that. So, and also the National Federation of the Blind has a science and engineering division for people in the career that want to network and meet each other and give support. So I'd love to connect with you afterwards and be able to share that information.
I would love that. Even this year for the American Foundation for the Blind, I was able to raise $2,000 for them. I was very interested in NFB as well, so I would love to connect to learn more.
Excellent. Wonderful.
All right, so we have one final comment or question from Dr. Bingman, the Associate Superintendent of Special Education.
So I wanted to thank you both for coming to tell your story. It's very important for us to hear this information and to hear about your story, and I want you to know that we are committed to improvement. And so what I ask you, if I can contact you so I can learn a little bit more and understand a bit more so that we can really look at our processes and procedures to see where can we upgrade to make sure that we are making a difference. And so I just want you to know that I will be reaching out to you and hope to learn more and then make determinations for moving forward. And thank you again for being willing to come here, because I know that that's hard. But you did great, and know that we and it makes a difference.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. We appreciate being able to share Eileen's story.
Yeah.
All right, thank you both so much for being here, and we'll make sure that Dr. Bingman gets your contact information, and the slides are shared with our committee members. You are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or if you'd like to head out, you are welcome to do that as well.
Decompress.
I was gonna say, well, I need to go home because I just gave my dog a diuretic before coming here, so I need to go take care of my little old lady.
Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the next portion of our agenda. So we will hear from Board Member Nancy Allen for Board of Education liaison comments.
I don't have a whole lot to share. I do know that there was some question that came across from four committees, in regards to the new protocols that are being in place for public comment at the board meetings. Those don't, the 2-minute rule is still in effect for committees, but the vetting and the what do I want to say? The checking of the IDs and everything is not in place for committees. If committees find that they need this process to be in place, they can let the board know, and then we'll work with the committee to have those protocols in place. But most committees so far, their response is, we don't need that, it's fine, you know. There are sometimes hot topics or controversial items that are brought up that might require that type of protocol, but otherwise, it's business as usual for the committees.
Thank you for that update. We will move into comments and updates from our directors of special education.
There is another one I opened up. I don't know what happened. Okay. So good evening, everyone. I'll give a couple updates and I'll pass it over to Katie. So our first one is we do have some system updates with our new ed plan. So over the weekend, we're excited to announce that the system did do an upgrade, and our IEPs now reflect the 3 Ds for dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia, as well as other for our students that have specific learning disabilities. The next step will be we'll be working with the IEPs that have occurred. So if you do have a child that has SLD on their IEP, we'll be sending out updated IEP so that that actually reflects on their cover page. And so moving forward, the system actually is updated as reevaluations and initials occur. That will be a part of the new system. Another exciting update that we wanted to share is we know that many of you all had a lot of questions about how do our transportation team and bus drivers and bus aides receive training throughout the school year. And so we were able to partner with our transportation team, and we have now designed a 3-tiered professional learning approach. And so that training actually rolled out last week. And so at Tier 1, all of our bus drivers that drive general education buses, they actually are going to receive training on disability awareness and de-escalation. And then at Tier 2 is our special education buses, our staff drivers and aides will receive additional training on de-escalation and supporting our students with disabilities. And then something we've had for the past 3 years is our Tier 3 professional learning, which is where the bus drivers actually and aides actually, any of them that transport students in specialized programs, they stop at a particular school and they receive training on the students' IEPs. So we're excited about this new rollout, and one of the things that will happen at the Tier 1 training is we're actually going to convert that into a screencast so that as new bus drivers and aides are onboarded, they actually get this experience right away. And I'll pass it over to Katie to talk about the rest.
Comments so far or no? Or questions?
Do you want to take questions now or wait until the end?
Wait until the end.
Okay.
So just a quick update on co-teaching and compliance monitoring, because the committee had asked for that, I think, as they're looking at their board recommendations for the upcoming year. In co-teaching right now, we have a couple of target schools who are doing power zones or co-teaching power zones framework with. That's mostly in the Walkersville feeder pattern, but then also extends to Carroll Manor. Not Carroll Manor, excuse me, Crestwood Middle School. And that is looking at targeted supports and building those co-teaching relationships based upon that book, which is really a hands-on book that allows them to work together. We're always working on building that sustainability of our co-teaching models, so we're working on getting video models together so that there can be a bank of those for all of our teachers to access as to what is the expected product that we want from our classrooms, kind of that elevation that we're looking for within the district so that all of the co-teachers within our district are working on the same lens and framework. We continue to work on observation rubrics and checklists and things in order to help make their jobs easier as they go into those roles, so we'll continue to roll those out through our website. And in regards to compliance monitoring, EdPlan does a great job of being able to access this information very quickly. So when an administrator logs on, they can see what the compliance monitoring is for their school. We as a district can see what the compliance monitoring is for the district, and then case managers can see that compliance monitoring for themselves. So just a couple quick updates in co-teaching and compliance. To talk about Inclusive Schools Week, we are really excited. We did an Inclusive Schools Week award this year, and that's going to go out on December 8th. So schools were able to nominate staff members for this award. We received 17 nominations this year, which is an improvement from last year, when I think we had 2 or 3 nominations, so that's a huge win. And there were 5 winners selected, so those people are going to be notified on December 8th, and then we have certificates and those things that we will present to them during that time. Each school was given some communication templates that they could send out in their newsletters to families, and then also we have a Spirit Week. So the week of December 8th through December 12th, you can look forward to many different activities, such as Kaleidoscope Day, Be Comfy Be You, and I forget the rest of them as my document comes up, but there are things like Team Day and Hat Day, so that should be a really exciting week. And we encourage you with hashtags to post those on social media and spread the word about Inclusivity Week. The other thing I just wanted to draw CCAC's attention to is we've created an ESY parent information site within our FCPS website. So if you click the FCPS website link, it's going to take you directly to the new ESY website landing page. It has the dates of ESY, it has contact information, it'll have questions as you scroll down about how do students qualify, what is ESY, and one of my favorite things listed here is under resources. And there's a brochure and a presentation that are fantastic. So if you would like just a quick reference, I encourage you to go to the ESY family brochure. I think it's easy to read, helps you understand that process, but then there are some more detailed presentations within resources as well. So again, just trying to look at transparency and communication to families. I checked the settings. I don't know why it's showing that way.
I told you. I told you.
I checked them.
Any other
Is that it? Okay. That is a lot of great progress and a lot of exciting updates. I have to say, personally, I wish I had that ESY website a while ago. All right, so you, Allison, had a question?
Yes.
Over to you.
I'm happy to hear about the training for the school buses and the different levels of training, and you mentioned de-escalation as one of the trainings. A recommendation I would also suggest would be of like how to, or maybe even like a generalization of what is a disability and like what qualifies, and then more specifically that sometimes disabilities are not always obvious, right? And so I think having the special education bus driver and their aide and the aide understand why these kids are on that bus might be helpful. And then the second thing was I just learned recently that there are certain trainings that are needed for certain kids who have different medical needs, and so I would be interested to making sure we're compliant around if a student on a bus has maybe a seizure, and like what do those parameters look like, and making sure that we are compliant on our bus drivers and their trainings. But yeah, definitely the de-escalation is a needed tactic, but then also the navigation on how you talk to parents and the children when they are kind of arrive on your bus.
Sure. Thanks for sharing the updates on EdPlan. It's a pretty exciting portal on its trajectory for, like we're describing, informing the schools as well as the parents. I'm just wondering, in listening to these updates, just wanted to share this. I'm sure there's a really mature model for product upgrades, but the ESY website and all the other resources that Frederick schools develop for IEP parents or 508 parents, I'm sorry, 504 parents. Is there an opportunity to incorporate a page of resources? Maybe it already exists on the EdPlan, but a simple portal, even for the ESY, the work on the website, a small lift could make a huge impact for just all the parents who are accessing the EdPlan. They would have, a selection of your very strategically picked links, right? Something small, but could be pretty impactful to just generally raising awareness. And then the other thing is, specifically with the ESY, I think that's always one of the most, it's covered in IEP meetings, but it's also a gap of just the process and just the information communication, which is probably why you created a great portal for it. And so I would really see a huge opportunity to incorporate maybe the EdPlan, it's a common concept of ESY for all statewide programs. So I don't know if they have another feature that can be activated, but I'm just plugging a vote for incorporating that. It seems like a pretty exciting opportunity there. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Over to Rania and then Jen.
Thank you. It ties in with the presenter tonight. Do we know how many blind students are in FCPS, and are any of them part of the co-teaching program?
They're deliberating.
I will have to get back to you. I don't have that information right this second, but I would have to get back to you in regards to the number and the statistics. So I can do that for you for sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Jen?
Mine's just a logistic question. Usually your report is linked in the,
Jen, could you use a mic, please? Probably.
usually the report is linked in the meeting minutes, and I don't see it linked in there. Is it something we would get our hands on? This up here, when you have all, usually you put that in the minutes every month. The director's comments.
When I looked at the packet, I saw it.
We can make sure we find that for you.
Okay. It's not showing up here.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Dr. Bigman.
I was just to say something different, if that's okay. I know I'm not part of the director comments, but I'm going to always take advantage of an opportunity. But I do want to let everybody know that Jamie Shoplin, our CCAG chair, has spoken to all of our principals last week, and she did a marvelous job. She's speaking to our assistant principals over the next 2 days, and she's basically talking about her experience as a parent and the power of an IEP team and how they make parents feel as part of that team, and just being able to kind of share that experience. And she just did a wonderful job. And so I really want to publicly thank her for being willing to do it, because it is 5 different times that she, or 4 different times, it feels like 5, but 4 different times that she's doing this, and very powerful to hear her voice and her experience and being able to speak on behalf of all of you and your experience. And so, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. My pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Bingman. And a couple of folks reached out to me after that, and they want me to come to their staff meetings. And so this might be a snowball thing. I don't know. We will see. Zoe.
I know that it's something that we've discussed before a few times, but with the bus driver training, have we talked any about the bus drivers getting AAC training as well, for them to be able to be able to use the devices, or how the children use their devices in case of an emergency and they need to have that communication with the child in that situation?
So really for our expressions programs, that is definitely something that as coordinators are scheduling those and follow-ups, that's something that I would encourage, and I appreciate that feedback. We can take that back to the coordinator team. General education buses, we're still unpacking how we can continue to get exposure with that team, because much like Ms. Lanham mentioned, is that we do have students that you wouldn't know have disabilities, and so that does look different on general education buses, but I appreciate everyone's feedback.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, we will move on. For updates from our partners for success teammates, Isa and Grace.
I think our stuff is on that same page that the directors have. Yes. So we have created, I guess, like the most important points is that we've created a survey link for parents. We've sent it out about 3 times now, but haven't got any responses yet. So we're going to continue to send it out and see if we can get responses back from families. But on the survey, it just asks like pretty much anything, like what they're looking for, what they want to see, what they have experienced that they've enjoyed, or things in the past that they've done that they would like to enjoy and do again. So things like that. And then this month we have had our Chili's dinner nights, which is always a fan favorite, and with our other events coming up in December, we don't have too much to share right now, but I think the one thing that we do want to share that we're really just happy about is that we are reaching new families and new faces, which is amazing to see, families that we've never been able to connect with that are participating, because usually when we have our events or our workshops, we have our frequent flyers, and it's the same ones, and we love seeing them. But being able to see new families enjoy these things is really awesome, especially at our support groups. This last month, I'm pretty sure the majority of them were new families, and it was amazing to see them connect and exchange personal information to connect more outside of our support groups, because it was obviously an opportunity to connect with someone that you don't think you would have in any other environment. So that was really awesome to see during those specific times this month. So we're excited for next month's support groups and the other activities coming up. And if you scroll down, the December calendar is also there with what's up and coming for December. If anyone has questions, but that's really it. We don't have too many updates at the moment.
Thank you very much. All right, Brooke Schmidt, any updates from CSAC? Okay. Moving on, we will go into our subcommittee reports. So we will start with budget and wheat.
Okay, we had our monthly meeting with the FCPS Central Office Grant Committee. And so we talked about just where we were, which nothing has changed as far as the allocations for the budget. Chris was able to come and kind of get the lowdown in the background on the budget process. A couple of things, an interesting thing we learned, that we always had thought, we were told we couldn't use the money towards refreshments, and that is not the case. We can do that like at the resource fair, if that's what some of the money wants to be spent on, we can do that. We cannot have a contract with a catering company. That was, I think, where a miscommunication came into play. Plus, Jessica and Jessica were new, right when we were all new, so we were all, it was all learning curve. I did get, Andrea spoke with the membership committee, and they had submitted a request for some funds to be spent. When I look at the total funds, it looks like it's about they're requesting 600, but it looks like it's about $400 in funds, so we'll have to look at where that would potentially come from. There is an allocation for printing, which would probably fall under there, but then that would take away printing from the resource fair. The other area we can pull money from for refreshments would be in the other charges, which is like resources for family and community events. So part of the resource money can probably come from both of those line items. I didn't hear anything from, we didn't hear anything from communications committee, subcommittees needing anything. Did you send it to Chris?
Somebody reached out to me directly and I followed up and I sent it.
I just made a comment in the chat. I don't remember receiving a comment.
The direct email to me and I shared it.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I don't know.
Okay, what's the budget ask?
Probably roughly around $400, I believe I said. So, for communication. Oh, my bad. I'm thinking memberships.
Yeah, membership, yeah.
I'm on both committees. I'm so sorry. That's my brain.
I didn't hear anything from the communications subcommittee as needing any funds being spent. So if this is the request we have at this point, we'll submit into FCPS, see if we need to make any changes into line items, or if it fits in there. And then we would need to know about the resource fair.
Yes, we will be having an executive board meeting in December. What's our by when in terms of finalizing this?
End of December.
End of December, okay. I see Laura has a question.
You were asked within the last month about our Google account. Can we have a little bit of a discussion on that?
Yeah, so both the Google Workspace and the Canva account, they can both be under a nonprofit, which is free. We just have to apply as a nonprofit, so they'll need our number, or the tax ID number that says we're nonprofit. It'll probably be like the website would be my guess, where we have to maybe annually submit that we're a nonprofit, which is what we have to do on the website to continue. I guess they don't want people abusing them.
So then in the state of the communications subcommittee, they don't have to put in a request for the website maintenance then?
No, the website's already built into the budget.
All right. Well, since we are now finding out that the subscriptions from Google, etc., are going to basically be treated as a nonprofit, I would like to make a motion that if CCAG could please approve the purchase of an annual subscription to Disability Scoop for $50. Chair Wheat has received notification that the grant will cover the purchase pending committee approval. The rationale is the Disability Scoop is the nation's largest news organization devoted to developmental disabilities, providing comprehensive daily coverage on autism, intellectual disabilities, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and other related issues. The platform offers 2 free articles and a monthly newsletter, but full access would provide the committee with timely, relevant, and research-based information used by educators, administrators, therapists, caregivers, lawmakers, and disability advocates. Now more than ever, CCAC should be kept current on the National Front for Individuals with Disabilities.
There is a motion on the floor to approve the subscription to Disability Scoop. Is there a second? Seconded by Claudia. Is there a discussion?
This would be, I guess, would be on an annual basis, would be decided on an annual basis, whether to continue to pay for the subscription.
Yes, I believe that we would have to have a committee vote to continuously keep this going, and it would be $50 as of right now.
And is it a paper copy or is it electronic?
Electronic.
So it would go to the CCAC account?
It would go to the CCAC account where I would share, what I would gladly share with all of our members. That's where I get the news now, by the way.
So we don't need to pay for it.
Tara
Tara, you had your hand up.
Do we have money in the right bucket for this, or will we need to check about that?
So we were approved. It is an approved purchase. I guess I would have to double check that it is, but we have printing and we have resources for families. My guess is the subscription could potentially fall under resources for families.
So if we approved as a committee moving forward with the subscription, we would just need to verify we have money in the appropriate bucket to move forward with the subscription.
Yes, if it is approved and the money is not in the right line item, we will move it. If that's a committee decision and it's been something we could do, that would be part of the amendment. So it's not like we can't do it if it's not in the right line item.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we all understood that process.
Sure.
Just a point of clarification for the Canva and Google nonprofit, is that requiring allocation within the budget cycle, or if we have other similar pilot projects that might benefit from that, we don't have to incorporate that into the budget cycle planning, right?
Correct, yes. It would be a committee decision, but it would not impact the budget.
I think we have a finite amount of money that we receive from the state, and I would just encourage us to think, is there another way that we could allocate this $50 that might be more publicly impactful, or towards resource fair or staff appreciation or other things like that? There's tons of news sources out there. I personally don't know that as a committee we want to pay for news sources and kind of set that precedent, but I'm only one person and that is my individual opinion.
Would you like me to review where the money is and what it's allocated for at this point?
I do think as the executive board, we do want to take a look at that. Do you think that that's relevant?
So the committee is reminded of where the bulk of our money is.
Sure.
So we have money in salaries, which pays for the janitors, for the building services, for the resource fair. We have money in contracted services, which includes printing, but also like professionals. In the past, we've had people come to the resource fair at a fee. We have the money allocated for the website. Then we have, I'm sorry, let me go back. So it's $1,100 in there for contracted services. It's $200 in for the website because that's what it costs. So there's nothing more on that line item. There is $562 for the resource fair or events committee purchases. And then there is a fixed charge, like we have to pay into FICA and that type of thing when we are using any employee who's being paid the salary. So that's the total where our money is at this point.
Any other discussion on the motion?
I have a question about it.
Go ahead, Veronica.
So the one thing I do really appreciate about you, Laura, is you provide us with a lot of articles that give us data and insight on the direction of our advocacy. This, if you don't have access to this disability scoop, is that going to impact your ability to provide the members with a lot of these articles that you've been able to provide us with?
It certainly helps to have it.
Zoe?
Okay, I may have misunderstood this, but, right, as of now, we were paying for Google and Canva.
No, the committee funds have not been expended for either of those. I have paid for those out of my pocket where there's a cost. We've since learned that with a nonprofit status, we don't need to leverage the $2,500 we get a year for those expenses.
Okay, that's what I was asking, because if we were paying for it, I didn't know like what the difference was, but if it's not part of ours, that's why I was asking.
Good question. Any other discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Oh, I'm counting. 1, 2, 12.
Yes. 12 in favor, all opposed, raise your hand.
2.
Abstentions?
1, 2, 3.
Keep your hands up, please.
5, 6, 7. Yep, that's it.
I don't think that we have a majority.
We have 21 people here tonight. So 21 divided in half.
Well, we have 25 members. We set the
The quorum only is to carry the meeting. A vote was based on the number of people. in the
50
meeting.
plus
So
one.
there's 21 people here tonight. So for a motion to pass, you need to have 21 divided in half, plus 1. 21 divided in half is 10.5, plus 1 is 11.5. So you would need 12 votes in favor, which we have.
Okay, so we are now going to subscribe to Disability Scoop,
We have 12 in favor, which we have.
which means we're subscribing to Disability Scoop.
Okay. I was like, what?
Yeah, we are. Okay. Question from Allison.
And we may have this, and I'm so sorry, we've like posted this somewhere and I don't know. But on other boards that I've been a part of, we get a monthly report of budget and actual. Is there a way for us to have that link to that every month so we have access, so we know what money we have, what money has not fully been spent, and what that looks like?
So the budget was shared at the beginning of the year, and it has not changed, because we have to allot the money before this committee is formed, as the new members coming in. So it was last year, and so you allot it based on what you predict will be spent the next year. We have not made, this is why we asked tonight for the request for funds to be submitted tonight, because now we will may have a change in the budget, and then you can have an updated. Nothing has changed since the first submission.
Nothing has been spent.
Nothing has been spent.
Nothing has been
Nothing has been spent since the beginning of the year. So once the amendment goes in, then there will be probably changes. Well, I can't say probably changes. There may be changes, or as money is spent, you'll see that adjustment in the budget. There is always in the CCAC budget committee folder, it's always also there.
How much do we get from the state, just as a reference?
2,500 total. And it's not from the state, it's coming out from the federal government.
$2,500 total.
Yeah, so we just spent $50 on a subscription.
No, I got that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
$2,500.
and you have your staple items, like if we're gonna have a resource fair, you have to pay for building services. So those things
Yeah.
cannot be changed, like.
And that's usually when the money starts going out, is when we have the resource fair. That's the bulk of what we expend our funds towards each year. Was there a question over here?
I was just confused of how many members were here today.
How many members are here today? 21.
I thought it was 23, I'm sorry.
I think
voting members?
I could be wrong. I thought you said 23 earlier.
Be the number of members present, not the members. Quorum is
No,
set.
I understand that. I just had a different number. I thought that you said 23 earlier in the day.
I think it was 23 earlier, is what we counted for the first vote. It was 23.
Well, then I did the math wrong.
So that, Harry?
I did the math wrong. I
Yes,
thought we were
mathing
at
is
21. Are we at 23 or 20. I don't know how many, yes, I don't know how
I'm
many
sorry,
board
I'm
members.
just-
A whole bunch of people came in after, like
Count out.
several people came
All right,
in
let's
after
count
the
them out
count.
so we can move on, please.
If you vote, raise your
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are at 23. I didn't know. Sorry. People came in after I counted. Because I counted at 6 o'clock. 23 divided by 2 is 11.
11
Did math.
So,
14 pass.
11. No,
11 and a half.
11 and a half, so we need 13, because we need 1.
Correct. So we need 13. So it did not pass. My bad.
Okay. I'm sorry, Laura, we can try again next time.
Sorry. I didn't know that our quorum went up.
I just needed one more clarification from the membership committee. Is there a timeline on the request for the items?
I'm gonna refer to Jamie because last year you helped make the binder, so that's what I was basing it off, so I don't know when the due dates are, so.
Yeah, it's binders, dividers, and name tags.
Yeah, that would be closer towards the start of the next school year when we have membership turnover and when we do our orientation. Does that help?
Thank you for the links.
Okay, awesome. Okay, over to the membership subcommittee.
Hi everyone, finally my role. We're still working to backfill the community membership role. We posted it on our social medias as of yesterday. We've already have been getting some traction with that, so I'm happy to see that. We met Thursday with the subcommittee and we discussed the application process, preparation for January, membership renewal, and as well as finishing our budget, which we reached out to Chris and we got that today. And as well as I reached out to the Office of Special Ed to see if they can help with advertising and getting that out through their channels. And then thank you, Tommy, for helping me in the Canva quickly and collaborating with me. Appreciate it.
Very exciting, thank you. Over to the events subcommittee. Lana?
Hello. So we actually were planning 3 different events this year, but we're planning to move caregiver event to fall 2026. We thought the line well with the caregiver week. So Lauren is reaching out, Andrea from Mother Stress, to see if she has an availability. We need to straighten out some other details like speakers, what kind of things we will be providing that day. So things like that. So that's what we're looking at right now. So she still has to get back to us on that. Staff appreciation, we have Sarah and Saren here. We're looking at second week of May for the event, and I don't think do we need money for that? I don't think so, right?
No, as far as, sorry, I'm using one pass in the mic. For that event, we're making it a zero cost event, leveraging partnerships and donations. The Department of Special Education has agreed to help us with printing our certificates that we would present at the event. And then anything else that we'd be doing would be leveraging through partnerships and donations to have a zero cost event where we can really make it more about celebrating and sharing the words and feelings expressed by our families about our staff and educators.
We're still deciding on venue and time for it.
Yes, we're looking at the second week of May, and the venue is still being determined, but we're looking at leveraging our MOU with Hood or FCC possibly, and if we're not able to secure the appropriate space that way, then we'd be looking at a school or so that we don't have to pay for custodial services.
Do you have anything to add? And then for the resource fair, I think you're the right person to talk about that. As well.
Yes. So this fall we've been working on navigating, researching the caregiver event, and then starting to do the research so we can move forward with our recognition event. And now we are moving into resource fair land. And of course the date is already set, and we'll be getting ready to send out all of our save the dates and all that information throughout the rest of this year now through the end of December. And the events committee will start working on that at their monthly meetings, and I will also be setting some dates to just work on resource fair. So if there's folks that are interested in just working on resource fair and not being on the events committee, you would be able to join at that time. And we have some volunteers that have expressed interest in working on the resource fair, so they would be brought into those meetings at that time as well.
When is the vendor forum going live? We've had several people reach out to try to sign up to be a vendor, so do you think we need to get that posted?
I think we can, it would probably be in December.
Is there something preventing us from doing that sooner, or it's just a link on the website, right?
We'll want to check
So that
the
we can-
form and see if Stacy has anything she recommends we improve from last year for that. And then drafting an email and sending it out, I could probably get it done sooner.
Okay, I think if we could just get it posted on the website so that if people do contact us, we can just send them to that link.
Yeah, we can work on that. I'll have to reach out to Stacy, she's helping us with that.
Those are the 3 events we have. I mean, not the caregivers is in like next fall, so just 2 events for this.
Okay, sounds good. Jen Wheat?
Just one budget item with that is Jessica Clayball from central office said that if you decide to use Chuck Flaghart again, he may have to reapply as a vendor. So maybe like a yearly thing.
Like you would need to send him an updated W-9 and so on and so forth.
Just telling you, don't you?
I'm just asking, is that what we need by reapply? The same thing we've done every year
Yes.
since I've been on the board?
Well, he wasn't a vendor except for last year, but so he may have to apply as a vendor again.
Okay.
I do think it would be helpful just to have a project plan shared with the committee, so if you have a link of that drafted, and any proposed additions or changes so that folks know, since this is our premier event, that would be helpful.
Not a problem.
All right, so moving on to communications subcommittee. Pass the mic over to Sarah.
Sorry.
That's Sarah.
Right to you. I was just telling her thank you. All right. So for the communication, Matt has been doing.
Make sure you're talking into the mic, please. Thank you.
Matt's been doing a great job with the posting out things on social media, sharing about events, and as well as just other things that have been going on in the disability community. We do have a motion that Rania had put together here that I would like to present here for everyone. So she did a lot of work on this. I'm just going to read it on her behalf here. So the purpose of this motion is to educate and inform the public about students with disabilities and how our community serves them. We would do this through doing interview processes. So starting in December, subcommittee members will contact appropriate persons in order to request their interview participation. Interview questions will be provided in initial email, and participants can have the option to provide a picture. CCAC will be copied on all correspondence. If any revisions are required, the participants' approval will be sought before posting. Interviews will be posted on CCAC's Facebook and Instagram on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. Each month will feature different areas of FCPS special education, including interviews with central office members, CCAC members, FCPS resource staff, and families. And then she's put together as well a more detailed timeline of what that would look like, different people to reach out to interview, as well as the interview questions that we can share as well if you'd like.
So that was a motion?
Yes.
The motion is to approve that communications plan targeting interviews to
share
staff and
social
students?
media. Staff, students, resource members.
What's a resource member, sorry?
Oh, so like such as, speech pathologists, bus drivers, different people beyond just the teachers within the schools.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Laura. Discussion? Zoe?
With the idea of having these questionnaires go out to the students, will there be any collaboration with Student Voices? We're already having some conversation with students.
So I'm sorry, can you just clarify a little bit more what you mean?
So Student Voices is also having conversations with family and students. And so, and the idea of not overlapping or asking the same questions or talking to the same families over and over again, is there any plan in a collaboration with the Student Voices ad hoc to make sure that those things are discussed?
That's a great plan. Before we move forward with the reaching out for interviews for families and students, being able to follow up with that group, I think would be excellent. I know in the beginning, our plan is to start with the central office and then CCAC members for those interviews, but before we move into the process of requesting interviews for families, I think that would be beneficial for sure.
How do we ensure we get permission and privacy guardrails, those kinds of things? That's more of a question for Kate or Dr. Bingman, for students and families.
I mean, as far as families, they make their own decisions, you know, I would just tell them and make sure that it's always very clear. We gave, I know with ZCAC had your listening sessions, we provided like a general statement that made sure to explain, like if it's specific to their child, their school, a staff member, that is not the forum for that. And so we can certainly help with developing some of those, but people do make their choices as to whether they share. As far as students, I would want to make sure that the parents were in agreement and that parents were part of it.
Absolutely. Just want to make sure that, like, in an email or something.
Have it in writing.
So that we don't. Andrea.
Can we hear like an example of some of the questions?
Absolutely. So for like questions for administrators and staff, the first question is just what's your name, occupation, how long have you worked in special education? And then why did you become a special educator? What has working with special ed students and their families taught you? And what can we do better to make sure each child gets an equitable education? And then questions for families would be, again, the name, how long have you had a student in special education? How does your student receive their special education services? If they are mainstream, what school do they attend? If in a program, what program do they attend? What have you learned from your own lived experience with disability? Or what do you want others to know about disability? And what can we do better to make sure each child gets an equitable education?
I do think we would just want to make sure that we're using modern language, so we don't say mainstreamed anymore, we don't say special needs. I think Troy shared some of those updates at our last CCAC meeting, so if we can just make sure that the questions are following the latest language around disability inclusion. Zoe?
I'm just going to let you know I do hate myself for as many questions as I've asked tonight, so I'm sorry for that. One of my questions is, where all would this be published? Is this like a CCAC thing exclusively? Will we put it in like the special education newsletter? Is there a plan for where all this would be funneled out from?
So our plan right now would be that this would be posted through the Facebook and Instagram CCAC pages as part of the content. So again, twice a month, so first and third Wednesdays of the month, and we would share out those interviews.
And then for the school and program, is that an optional thing? Because I know that some schools have specific programs and that narrows you down to like 11 students total.
Oh, right. Well, and I think all of the questions would need to be optional. You know, if someone prefers to, to skip it, none of it's mandatory. What people are comfortable sharing is all we would want people to share, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, let's vote. So all those in favor of the motion to share stories by staff, educators, parents, and students, anyone willing, based on the plan that Sarah has described as put forward by Rania. Do you have something, Laura?
I just have a point of clarification. Would central office administration be included as staff, or is that a completely separate qualification?
I think they're staff of FCPS, are they not?
That's why I'm asking for clarification.
I'm not restating the entire motion because I can't remember all of that, but I'm sure that she can give you the specific verbiage for the minutes if that's what we're looking for.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion on the floor, please raise your hand. 18 in favor. Those opposed, please raise your hand.
I can count that.
None. Abstentions. 1, 2, 3, 4 abstentions. So it looks like the motion carries.
Someone not vote. What's 18 plus 4?
Oh, I didn't see you, I'm sorry.
I said yes.
You said yes.
Okay, so that makes you 19.
19, okay, 19 in favor, 4
4
abstentions, no.
It's hard to see everyone.
Wow.
I swear.
It is hard
That's
to
the
see.
way.
Okay, thank you, Rania and the Communication Subcommittee for bringing that forward. I think that'll be great content to share out there. Just let's be mindful, because that is the voice of CCAC collectively, so we do want to be responsible around that. All right, student voices, Zoe, over to you. You have the mic again.
Again, I'm sorry. We just basically have been continuing on. We had a meeting and discussed a little bit more of the questions that we were interested in talking to the students about. We plan on making that at least rough draft in the next month and passing that on to get some more feedback on that, both from the CCAC board, executive board, and the central office. And then from there, we're just going to keep moving forward. And like I said, if anybody has any questions or anything they would like to have on that or any ideas, you're more than welcome to email us and let us know.
Any questions? Okay. No updates for bylaws. We currently don't have an ad hoc for that raised. Legislative and Policy Subcommittee. Laura or Rania, did you want to share an update there?
Do you want me to talk about the impact survey? Or do you want to save that for another time?
I would just share a brief update of what's been happening in the subcommittee, and if there's something that we want to bring a motion forward, I would recommend using tonight to do that.
Would we need a motion for the impact survey?
If we are sending out a survey to a population, I do think we'd want the voting members to agree that we should in fact do that.
Okay, it would just be to the CCAC members.
In that case, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
we can pull our own members.
So basically just the impact survey is with everything going on at the federal level with the Department of Education. That's changing its function, its size, and its scope. That's going to have widespread implications. So we just thought to take an impact survey, since we all come from different perspectives, different areas in the field of disability, we can, with the eyes on the ground, we wanted to just take a survey with 3 main areas, basically trying to understand what funding has been cut, what grants have been cut, whether they're special education grants or not. They will impact the budget here at home. And we know special education programs are funded above the maintenance of effort. So any squeeze to that budget could potentially put our special education kiddos at risk. The second area of focus is the institutional knowledge at the department level. A lot of time as advocates, as educators, and as decision makers, we need data to make good decisions. And so the Department of Education has that institutional knowledge to guide and collaborate with other organizations, with institutions of higher education, and to make sure that that information and data gets in the hands of people like us. And then the third area, CCAC itself, is funded by IDEA Part B, the state discretionary funds. And so we'd like to know what other areas that you guys know of that are funded by IDEA. So again, it's to monitor the effects here and to pinpoint the areas of advocacy so that we can have a better idea of what our landscape looks like.
Thank you, Rania. There's some other, oh yes, Jen.
Who's getting that survey?
That would be sent to CCAC members to see
to
if
us.
any of us have been impacted by what's happening nationally. Lauren, did you want to share anything around the policy and legislative pieces that we've been tracking?
With all due respect, Chair Chaplin, I was under the impression that you were going to help with those updates.
No worries, Laura. There's not much to share other that we haven't already shared before. I think Rania is trying to get a little bit more information around the special education ombudsman using her connections with NFB and trying to see really what happened with that position that was funded but never staffed. And then we did have a subcommittee meeting and we did recruit a volunteer to join that subcommittee meeting. So we are kind of just getting going. There's a whole document of federal, state, and local legislative and policy items that we're trying to start to track. We will share that with a broader subcommittee so that you can see what we're looking at. And if there are other things that we might need to add to our radar, we can certainly include those things in the future. Nothing for Board of Education election ad hoc subcommittee. As was shared at a previous meeting, that date and location of Hood College is confirmed. So as we get a little bit closer, we'll start pushing information out around that. Okay, unfinished business. I do want to take the opportunity to talk about cameras in classrooms this evening. And let me get to my notes here. There's been, this has been on the minds of a lot of folks out in the community, and I wanted to make sure that we had a conversation about it this evening. So since our last meeting, I did have a couple of conversations, one with FCTA, one with FACE. Also talked with some parents and other members in the community. I also spoke with a company called Volt AI that bolts on AI to existing camera infrastructure, and they do this in a school setting just to try to get a better sense of what is the landscape of this, how does one problem solve for this. There's a lot of things that I think are on the minds of folks. So just kind of giving us a refresher of some of the pros and cons and things that have come up in the work group that happened and in conversations that I've been a part of since our last meeting. And then I want to put forward a motion for CCAC to take a position on this. But I want to refresh everybody before we move into a motion. So some of the things that we've heard about in terms of pros for this can be around leveraging cameras to deter unsafe behavior, to help monitor for crisis situations, can provide documentation and evidence in the event that it's needed. If an incident does occur, then that video can offer an objective account of what might have happened. There's lots of questions around what's going to trigger the footage. Is the footage going to be running all day, every day? Who's going to have access to it? There's lots of safeguards and controls and policies and procedures that what I've learned this being implemented in other communities. Montgomery County is piloting this. The state of West Virginia just implemented cameras in classroom for their entire state. And it was a result of a student with a disability who was sexually assaulted. So this is a complex issue. It's very, very complicated. There are things, though, that guardrails and precautions and procedures that can be put in place. These things can help potentially provide transparency and accountability. It can help also be used as a sort of an anonymous training tool. So if there is an incident that happened, it can be anonymized potentially and then used for training of staff. There's a lot of concerns out there around privacy. There's a lot of fear that folks are going to sort of get back in their office and just sort of watch and surveil folks while they're moving through their day. You know, I think that we have to be responsible and make sure that we have safeguards and training in place, that if the county does move forward by piloting or incrementally implementing cameras in classrooms, that we've got some robust guardrails for some of the unintended behaviors that may result from this kind of implementation. There's always an opportunity for something like this to be misused, so we have to make sure that we help folks understand what the intent is and what the guardrails are around this kind of thing. There's also a sentiment out there that it may change the climate or the culture of the school and the classroom because of the introduction of cameras. So that's just something to be mindful and to consider. And then there's also the cost of installing whatever infrastructure is needed, making sure that it can be maintained, making sure that it continues to be modern and therefore useful for the intended purpose, and just being able to support the ongoing IT infrastructure that something like this would require. And then, Maryland is a two-party consent state for video, so making sure that all of the necessary laws are followed and there's the appropriate consent, and that this is handled in the best way possible if this does move forward within our county. So with all of that, I'd like to move that CCAC formally take a position on whether to support the use of cameras in any classroom setting within Frederick County, assuming and with the necessary guardrails to address a lot of those things that I just walked through. And it's really going to be up to the experts who are going to potentially go off and implement this kind of initiative. But I do think as a committee, given the population that we serve, and especially with the recent OMS incident, that we should take a position. CCAC was in a position to take a position on this and did not over the summer work group. So that is what I'm putting before the committee, a motion to take a position on implementing cameras within Frederick County Public Schools with the necessary guardrails to address the core concerns. So let's come to, you want to make a motion? We'll do discussion. Is the discussion going to be on the motion?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify what the motion was, the type of camera being used, because I remember briefly overhearing you were talking about like the AI camera where it's just like figures versus like camera.
This is not a motion to solve for what the solution will be. It's basically a position statement from CCAC in favor or in opposition to that. I think we would need the experts within the county to decide what they can do with the existing infrastructure or not, and how best to solve for some of the concerns that are out there in the community and within the FCPS.
So right now you're taking a motion on if we're going to have a position or if we're not.
Yes.
Yes.
You.
Just to have the discussion whether we make a motion that we want cameras or not want cameras. Like, take a position, basically.
Yes, I'm asking this committee to take a position on this. So is there anyone that's
Do the discussion when you do that.
okay?
I will second the motion.
Okay, thank you,
That
Tara.
CCAC takes a position on cameras in the classroom.
Okay, discussion on whether or not CCAC should take a position on cameras in FCPS classrooms.
I wanted to just acknowledge what you described, the different use cases, and I know a position might be yes or no, but I perceive that is part of the controversy of decision of the major use. I think there would be greater consensus if the motion was to put forth a position on a solution that would target criminal use cases as opposed to performance or training use cases. So if we were to put forth a motion that would design a solution to deal with criminal actions and accountability for that, I think, again, that would create graders reduce the questions, and then that would also possibly serve as a pilot test for, just that solution itself. I also wanted to highlight that you mentioned the Maryland wiretap laws. That does not apply to video cameras in public places, such as your home front door is not under the wiretap law. So that raises the question of now, is there an expectation of privacy in a classroom for video recording? And I can see legal arguments either way, that there's not an expectation of privacy in a public schoolroom. So that might not require consent. So, and that, again, that goes back to the criminality law, wiretapping for, criminal. And then if we were to have, you mentioned researching third parties. So, interested in that.
Okay, thank you, Drew. We have, I didn't mention wiretapping, that's not what I was referring to, just for the record.
Consent.
You're talking about unions,
Right, but wiretapping is a whole other thing. That is not what I was talking about. In order to be video recorded, I have to give consent and.
But the consent, I believe, is under the Maryland wiretapping law, is the consent.
Okay, I just don't want people to get confused that we're talking about wiretapping, even though that might be the technical, whatever that is in the code. That's a whole other hot button topic, so I don't want to conflate that with this.
No, I wasn't. I was just acknowledging the two-party consent. It's my understanding that's under the wiretap law, so that's.
Okay, Jen.
I just have logistic questions. So if we were to agree to take a stance, then would that be another ad hoc committee? Would that either be a timeline, or would we just do a flat vote and say yay or nay?
That's up for the committee to decide. I would really appreciate the committee taking a vote. If you all feel you need to have yet another working group or ad hoc subcommittee to continue to have this conversation, then that is within the purview of the committee members to make that decision. Brian.
Sorry, my device is acting up. So my girls went to Centerville Elementary School, and there were video cameras everywhere, in the halls, in the lunchroom, in the classrooms. So I know that this is for special education, but how is this different? It's already allowed in the school that my children went to. So I wanted to know if there was a clarification between those. And then also, of course, I know that one of the arguments is that this could allow for abuse of the video cameras, but I would much rather that be at risk than have another child be at risk for being abused.
I did not specify that this would only be for self-contained classrooms or special education classrooms. I said within classrooms in the FCPS environment. So it was much broader than just.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you because my device was not working.
I wanted to clarify that I was not limiting this to thinking about it in the context of self-contained classrooms, which has been some of the discussion that we've had in this committee before. I would think about this more broadly within the FCPS community, especially with the shift for more inclusive classrooms and having disabled peers more integrated with their non-disabled peers. So limiting cameras to just self-contained classrooms only would potentially solve for a small population of our IEP students.
So I guess what I'm trying to say, it's already allowed in certain schools.
I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. Dr. Bingman?
So at Centerville, they'll have it in the hallways, in the gymnasium, in the cafeteria, and in common areas, but not necessarily in the classrooms. So that is something that is new. I mean, I would just interject to say that this is in conversation right now with the board and the superintendent. There's conversations with regard to it. They're having collaborative discussions with the labor partners. And so unfortunately, because it was confidential in nature, we're not able to say more. So, and just to kind of share that there is conversations happening, and it's very much an exploratory stage.
Yeah, I think this would be a change to working conditions, so you would have to make sure that that's accounted for in whatever change might be piloted or implemented. Any other questions on Matt?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, but did you reach out to the FACE and FCTA to get their stance to see where we can align? If so, do you know where they are at with that?
I did get feedback from FCTA and FACE, and a lot of what I shared in my opening remarks were covered by some of the concerns and things that they would want to make sure that there are guardrails and protections around. Any other discussion on the motion for CCAC to consider taking a position on, Laura?
One of the things that has always fascinated me about FCPS is the Heather Ridge School. And I understand, because I have brought this up prior, but I need to be explained to like I'm 5, because I know that it is not considered a precedent because why? They have cameras, and for those that do not know, Heather Ridge has cameras for its use. And when I was a part of the, I guess, task force over the summer, I had heard the principal, I'm sorry, his name escapes me, I'm seeing Druff. I had asked why weren't we using their camera system as at least a model or development tool, because it's already in FCPS, or what is considered FCPS. And I know that the answer was given to me, but I really need more clarification as to why we couldn't possibly use Heather Ridge as a model.
So when that occurred, it really came before many of us that are now in central office and executive leadership, including our current superintendent. So it was really something that was grandfathered in, and much like Chair Joplin mentioned, it would be something that from the FCTA and all 3 bargaining units, it's considered a working condition now. So it's not off the table, it's just something that has to be discussed with them.
And I will just add that Dr. Rumpf is a part of all of our conversations and very much sharing his experience and the staff experience with regard to cameras at Heather Ridge. So certainly he's always a part of the conversation. So I would say yes, we do hear from them and are incorporating them into conversations.
Allison?
I think this is a great suggestion that the CCAC board have a stance on this option. It seems like, you know, if we want to have influence and power, we need to be able to have a collective voice that says we agree with this or we don't agree with this, or we should, you know, start to make a stance on then positioning on why. It doesn't seem to me that we'll be able to get to where we are at tonight on if we are for or oppose, but I would recommend if there's a way that we can have a listening session on, you know, what this may entail, or potentially, unfortunately, maybe kick it down the line till we know what they're proposing. Because I mean, personally, I wish there was a camera at times, and I wish we could have viewed some evidence and just to see what had happened. And I really like the idea of the AI bots. I think these are all really great ideas, but I do think that it seems that we all kind of need some more information on where FCPS is heading, and then if we know what their product is, we can either say, yes, we agree with that, or no, we don't, or to say, we would recommend this solution. But I do hear you, you're saying that we would want to defer to their expertise, which I agree. But But so yes, so I would like to say, yes, I think we should take a position. What that position is, I think we need more clarification.
Board Member Allen.
So from a board perspective, I think it's important that the committee makes a statement. The board looks to its committees for recommendations and to understand, because you guys are the ones who are on the ground and bringing forward kind of the real information that we need to make decisions. So I would encourage, I don't want to sway this, but I would encourage, I certainly as a board member would appreciate understanding where the committee stands on this and what they do support and what they don't support. It's no guarantee that the board is going to move one way or the other based on that, but it certainly helps to understand what's happening on the ground.
Go ahead, Tara. Thank you, Board Member Allen.
I had a similar thought as you did, Nancy. I would encourage all of us to look at taking a formal position as a speaking body, as our recommendations are next month. Even if we move forward with taking a position tonight, even if that position is that we recommend FCPS, the Board of Education, the Department of Special Education, and FCPS as a whole move forward with looking at how to implement cameras in the classroom, us supporting the exploration, us supporting the conversation to occur, us supporting how to make it safe for our employees at FCPS as well as our students is a stance. So it wouldn't just be for or against, it could even be a stance supporting the Board of Education and FCPS and exploring how it might be possible or just pushing forward the conversation. I think eventually having a position, yay or nay, would be the end goal. But for now, with our recommendation and accommodations coming December 10th, having a position at our time in front of the Board of Education, I think is of the utmost importance. Even if it's just to say we are in support of the conversations and the exploration occurring.
I think that's really valuable, Tara. I am going to rescind my motion and ask for you to make a motion to that effect, what you just described. And I would also offer that we can provide a lot more information around this electronically, and then I am going to ask for an email vote before our December 10th meeting. So we do need to leverage our collective voice, our experiences, and this is what we're here to do, to advise. This has been a conversation that has been going on for years. I know everybody is coming at it at different points in time, but we have to take this seriously, and we have to do our homework. I'm willing to give you all the information that you might possibly need in order to make a decision. We have all of that in the drive. There are myriad notes and videos on all the workshops that have been out there, but you know, we've got to take this forward. So please, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. All right, bear with me. I would like to make a motion that CCAC takes a position to recommend to the Board of Ed that we support and encourage the ongoing conversations and exploration of the possibilities of implementing cameras in the classroom between the Board of Education, FCPS Central Office, Department of Special Education, and labor unions, and any other pertinent advisors to this conversation.
Second. Motion made.
Seconded by Jim.
Yes. Any discussion? All right, let's move to a vote. All those in favor of The motion on the floor.
Sorry,
That's okay. Please raise your hand.
That was awesome. Okay, I'm gonna count. 1, 20.
20 in favor. Those opposed, please raise your hand. Any abstentions? We have 3 abstentions. Motion carries. All right, that I think concludes, do we want to move to extend the meeting or would we like to adjourn?
I would like comments.
Do we have a public comment at all tonight?
No, no public comment.
I have new
Yeah, we
business.
do. We have one public comment.
We don't have public comment.
Are we doing?
He said he was not making public comment. I spoke to him. Are you making public comment?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for having this group, that I appreciate it. It was nice to listen in. And if anyone would be willing to talk about accommodations and how FCPS tracks accommodations and what you do well, what might need improvement, I'd be really happy to talk to you after the meeting. Thank you. Don't want to take any much more of your time.
Thank you. Well, all of us are going to flock to you, so be ready.
I would like to make a motion that we extend our meeting by 10 minutes to accommodate the remaining items on the agenda.
Is there a second? Second by Allison. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so motion carries. So we are going to talk about, or hear from, let's go to parent voices. Allison.
Okay. All right, I'll be quick. I wanted to mention that the survey, I was thinking about it. We've been getting a lot of emails about the survey in totality about our schools, and so I think it might have gotten mixed in the shuffle. So if you can extend your survey and somehow differentiate, like this is not about the school, this is about special ed or something. So that was one thought. 2, very exciting that I'm sure you all heard, Mental Health Association Frederick County has taken over the mobile crisis unit, which is all very exciting. And if you've not heard that, that is a great resource. So if you or anyone you know who needs mental health support, when you call 911, you can also ask them to call the mobile crisis unit to come with you. 3, the recommendations for the Board of Ed, that December 10th meeting, will we have an opportunity to read what that final recommendations packet looks like?
Yes, it'll be sent around.
And then are we voting on if that's...
There's no vote.
There's no vote. It's just
Your opportunity to weigh in on that process has been given multiple times.
Right, and if something wasn't included that we would have liked to have included, is there, or is it just like tough luck?
We can't take everything forward. We have to be strategic about what we ask for. That's not to say that you can't continue to bring ideas to our public meetings. Or email any of the leaders directly if there's something that you'd like to recommend.
Okay, so that will be coming out to everyone to read as prior to the 10th meeting. And then the last was, I'm sorry to have missed last meeting, but I did bring the little pamphlets. So I will pass these around so you can take a quick look at that. It seems to me like we don't really have a wide breadth of a budget. However, is this something that I can search for granting bodies to fund for us?
No, we don't operate that way. We don't go into grants with other organizations. That's not how CCAC is structured.
Say that one more time.
We have $2,500 that we're allocated.
Mm-hmm.
We do not enter partnerships with other granting organizations for funding. That's not our model.
Okay.
You can get somebody to donate something to the resource fair or something like that if
Well, these are specifically for...
So let's just add this as a new business item, and if you want to bring that forward at the next meeting, then we can have a more robust conversation about it.
Okay, so January it is?
Okay, awesome. If you let Laura know, she can get it on the agenda for you.
You add it to the agenda.
As we get closer. All right, other parent comments. Community members. Rania.
I just wanted to share that the registration is open for the National Federation of the Blind of Maryland annual convention. It will be February 12th to the 15th. in Ocean City, and they will have workshops for educators of blind students and for parents of blind students, along with many other things.
Thank you, Rania. Jen?
The community I work with is very thankful that the dyslexia, dyspraxia, and dyscalculia was added back into the IEP. There is still room for discussion about prior written notice, if they're open to that.
Thank you, Jen. Any other community members? Students? Any updates from our students?
Yeah, I just have like a really quick thing. November's Family Stories Month. So Anvi and I have been working on a Stories of Strength awareness campaign where we've been like contacting different families if they want to share like their stories about like any lessons they've learned or like general stories they have to share. So that's something we.
Wonderful. Maybe those could be stories featured as part of what the communications subcommittee is working on.
Yeah, we would love to share that, and the families who we're reaching out to currently, there's some families we met at the Partners of Success event, so that's been really helpful to like kind of grow our network, and then also social media. So
Wonderful. Staff updates or share outs.
Always me, always.
Sarah.
I always like to bring the fun, the happy thoughts. Jamie, I have to say thank you. Our special education team meets weekly every Thursday, and our principal did come to our team meeting last Thursday and said there was this wonderful speaker, and from now on, when you go to greet your families, please make sure you let them know what they're walking into, you know, who they should expect in the room or on the screen, and so you would believe it, on Friday, we definitely implemented that. For all of our IEP meetings, so thank you for those suggestions. They've already trickled down. Our PTA had a fun run fundraiser. We made sure that all of our students were able to participate and be recognized if they had raised funds. One of our students in our specialized programs was one of the top earners, and he is now going to be principal for the day, and he's going to get a luncheon, so I'm just so excited to celebrate his success there. We also participated in the SOAR Awards at the school, so all of our students in pre-K and our specialized programs we were nominated a student from each class, and so again, that was just like another win, a celebration of successes. And then for December's National Inclusivity Week, we are having the Arc of Maryland makes Lauren
Schulger.
Lauren, yeah, she's not here, but she had said, reach out to the Arc of Maryland. They'll come to a presentation, and so we're having that at Arena.
Amazing. Thank you for all of those happy notes. We definitely need those. All right, any other final share outs? Okay. All right, with that, our next meeting will be here in the same place, same time, but that'll be in January 26th of 2026, and after the new year. But as a reminder, we will be doing our Board of Education annual report on December 10th. So I look forward to seeing as many of you there as we can have support. So thank you all for everything that you do, all the great suggestions and the motions and the robust debate that we've had this evening. Really appreciate everything that you continue to do for students with disabilities. And I would love a motion to adjourn. Chris, move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. So we are adjourned at 8:08.